pulled out one of my books as I thought about this feast day, Jesus our King. And it was written about a man that worked with Arnie Palmer for 25 years. And of course, Arnie Palmer was called the King. And you know, the book is about taking lessons of golf, and then he takes golf images and applies it to life. It's a great little book. It's a quick, easy read, you know. Probably if you didn't like golf, you wouldn't like it. But in any event, you know, in the very beginning part of that book, he talks about why he wrote the book. And this is what he said. He said, Arnie was a source of inspiration and guidance for me my entire life. He said, that's why I named the book Mentored by a King. He was my mentor, mentored by a king. And I thought, isn't that what this feast day is supposed to be all about? We're supposed to be mentored by a king. And what can he teach us? He's hanging there on the cross in today's gospel. What does he teach us? Through his life, my friends, Jesus had impeccable integrity and character. And we need that, don't we? Somebody who is mentored by someone, we need to have those qualities in our own life. Character and integrity. This past week, I went to see the movies with Mom and Dad. Mom and Dad wanted to see Hacksaw Ridge. I don't know if any of you saw that movie, and after having watched it, I don't know if I recommend it or not. It's a great story. It's a typical Mel Gibson film where you have a great story and 20 minutes of intense, crazy battlefield violence. But the story is wonderful. The story is absolutely wonderful. It's about a young boy that had some things happen at home, and he vowed and pledged that he would never touch a gun, but he wanted to serve in the armed forces, and so he became a conscientious objector. And of course, he received all sorts of crazy amounts of rejection and was made fun of and just beat up. Just all sorts of things happened in his thing. And then he finally was given okay to be this medic. And so he went out to the front lines as a medic, and he became a hero. But you know, my friends, during the movie, you see who he got his inspiration from. Like the more the attacks that were rejection, he'd pick up his little Bible and read. And then when he was in the battlefield, he prayed, just one more. And he's asking God to give him the strength to save one more soldier. And of course, he saved 75 soldiers, and he saved the officers who made fun of him in his life. And that's what made him a hero. These officers said, my gosh, did I ever misread what kind of man you were? You know, that's what's needed today, isn't it? Someone with great character and someone with great integrity. You know, we need to be mentored by someone who has those qualities. That young man was mentored by a king, wasn't he? And look, he became a national hero, received the highest Medal of Honor, and never carried a gun. The second thing is, there's a young boy. I was in gym class, and these boys, his one leg was kind of deformed, heavily scarred, and they were looking at his leg, not making fun of him. They were just asking how it all happened, and he's thinking as they're touching it, looking at it, and asking all these questions about what happened to his leg. He's thinking to himself, you know, I don't really even look at the scars on my leg. I look at the scars on my arm. And you know, as these boys were talking, he was telling them how this scar came into play. And then he said to the boys, he said, this is the scar that matters to me. And they said, you know, you can barely see that scar. and there was like four, like little indentation marks in his arm, and one looked a little deeper than the other. He said, you know, we were on vacation a couple years ago in Florida, swimming in some sort of lake that was attached to like this swamp area. And an alligator, my mother saw this alligator a few feet from my son's surface, and so she goes tearing into the water, and this is a true story. And by the time she got to him, the alligator had gotten his leg, and she grabbed his arm and absolutely refused to let go. And you know, he says in his life, he said, you know, if I ever get in an argument with my mom, I look at my arm. He said, when I get angry with my mom, I look at my arm. He said, if I ever question if my mom loves me, I look at my arm. It's the same with us, my friends. If we ever doubt him, look up there. If we ever get angry with our God, look up there. If we ever question if our God loves us, look right there. You see, that's what a king can teach us. He gave his life for us, my friends. And he not only teaches us, but wants us to become great people of character and integrity. All of us, don't we? We need to be mentored by a king. God bless you.